Recording is on.
Okay.
Got it. And what about share screen?
Yeah,
Yes.
you're the host, and so is.
Okay, great. Thanks.
Both of you
I
are
got it.
host, right? Yeah.
Okay, great. So we're going to start, and we're going to observe a minute silence in memory of Fish. Okay. So that's one friend gone. So we'll start without any formal introductions. And so I'll stop share now. And Subodh, I believe you have a presentation to share. So
yeah, I'll
you can
just
share your
share
screen.
this.
Subodh, a basic request. There are, at least I can speak for myself, there are many of us who have seen how beautifully the UPI system works, but have no hands-on experience in using it. So, make sure you tell us about the simple steps and what the steps are. Thanks in advance.
Okay, sure, I'll do that. So can you see the screen now?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
You can hear
Yes,
you.
yes.
So I'll try and keep it short, but do stop me at any point of time that you have any questions or whatever. I know people in India, they can add much more than perhaps I've put in here from their experience. So let anybody from India, they can top up or add anything that they would want. So UPI is that unified payment interface is nothing but it facilitates payments or receipts between two bank accounts or wallets or whatever. So conceptually, nothing new. This happens earlier also. At least in India, we had two channels of payments which were managed by the Reserve Bank of India, rather an entity of the Reserve Bank of India called the IDRBT, Institute of Development and Research in Banking Technology. So these are the two channels for fund transfer. So if I want to send funds to somebody or if I want to receive funds from somebody, these are the two channels called the RTGS and NEFT. Perhaps they are there in almost all countries, so nothing new. For those of you who are not very familiar with the banking system, let me just tell you. For example, let's start with NEFT, National Electronic Fund Transfer System. It's essentially meant for low value payments. So anything above 1 rupee to actually any value, you can use this. The way it works is it works in a batch mode. So if I give an instruction that please pay somebody, then the system, the bank collates all that information, and in a batch mode, typically every half an hour, that was used to be the time, it would push the payments to the IDRBT, and then IDRBT will send the money to the other bank and all that, and get the response back. In the RTGS system, the payments happen on the real-time basis, and this is allowed only if you have money transfers above 2 lakh rupees. In NEFT, you can also transfer above 2 lakhs, not a problem at all. But in case you have only more than 2 lakhs, then only RTGS is used. Okay. Now let me talk of settlement. When I send the money to somebody from my account to somebody's account, not only my accounts gets reduced, the other person's accounts gets increased by the deposit. The bank that I have, it also has a cash sitting with the central bank, which is the RBI in our case. So the bank's cash also has to go down, and the other bank's cash also in the RBI has to go up. Correct. This is called settlement. So in case of NEFT, the settlement happens every half an hour, which means suppose State Bank of India, it sends money to Punjab National Bank. Some customers from Punjab National Bank sends money to State Bank of India. The net of the transaction, the net of that cash will get settled in RBI. Okay. So in case of NEFT, the settlement is on a net basis. But in case of RTGS, the settlements is on an individual transaction basis because the amount is large. So for every transaction, the settlement in the Reserve Bank also happens simultaneously. Okay. So this is these are the two systems. Perhaps every country has that. Earlier, prior to almost 2014-15, the NEFT and RTGS used to stop on weekends. So we raised a hue and cry with the Reserve Bank saying,
Subodh, I have
Yeah.
a simple question. So I understand the settlement has to be on both the accounts, at both ends, as well as the balances reflected in the RBI. So I can
Correct.
understand that the RBI, in your example between the State Bank and Punjab National Bank, that's on a net basis, and that happens at I don't know which servers are taking care of this, but I presume it's an RBI server that is taking care of net settlements. But then it's the Punjab National Bank and the State Bank individual servers taking care of debiting, crediting, local accounts, and etc. Or how is that done?
Correct. Correct.
Okay.
That is done locally by the bank servers.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. The settlement happens between the banks and the RBI. Okay. So these used to operate 5 days in a week, and then we said the government payments can't be held up. They are critical. So please allow them for the weekend. So they allowed on the weekend, but then they said it'll be for a few hours only, and finally they agreed, and now both of them are working 24/7 by 365. So at any point of time, anybody can send money, and that gets settled immediately with the RBI. Okay, so this is what used to happen. This still happens. So these two channels are still working. Okay. In both these channels, you can do an offline, which means you can go to the bank, fill up the form, and then the bank will send the instructions to RBI or the IDRBT, and then they will ensure that your bank accounts gets debited, and then the other accounts get credited, or they'll do everything. If a person doesn't have any bank account, then they can up to 50,000 rupees. That is the cash limit that anybody can deposit in a cash form. So you can deposit that cash, and then the bank will do the NEFT or RTGS transaction for you. The other is, okay, when you go to the bank and fill the form, these are the details which are required to be filled in the form, which means the beneficiary name, the beneficiary's bank name, the beneficiary's branch name, the branch code. In India, we have every branch, bank branch, is given a unique code by the RBI, which is called the IFSC code, Indian Financial System Code. It's a 11-digit code. The first 4 digits identify the bank, and the last 7 digits, they identify the particular branch. So for example, this SBIN 003002, it says State Bank of India, Fort Empire House branch. So this is the unique code for that. And the account type, which means it's a savings bank account, it's a current account, it's an overdraft account, it's a deposit account, whatever. So, and then an account number. And depending on the bank in India, you can have an 11 digit and up to 16 digits. So banks have different unique account numbers. So 11 to 16 digit. And for the sender, if you are filling up that form, that same information has to be filled in, from which account has to be debited and all that. So this is the offline mode. And in the online mode, since online you are either dealing with the internet banking or the mobile app. So the moment you log in, your bank details are already known. Or if you have multiple accounts with the same bank, you can choose one of the account numbers. So your information is clear, but the other information is still all that required to be filled in by the sender. Okay. Sometime in 2012 or 2013, Reserve Bank said that beneficiary name is not required. Okay. Because the transactions don't happen by name. Still, I remember 2013-14, some banks insisted the bank's name, but that's a different story. So what essentially is required is the branch code and the account number. Okay. Because the branch name and the bank name is already given in the IFSC code, and the branch code gives the bank name actually. So minimum what is required is the branch code, which is 11 digit, and account number, which can be 11 to 16 digit. Okay. So the financial address at the minimum has to be 11 digits for IFSC and 11 to 16 digits, so which means 20 to 27 digits for the financial address. Minimum that is required. And then with this, you can send the money or receive the money. Okay, so far, I hope I'm clear. Then before I go into UPI, let me trace some history which have bearing on how UPI got generated. So we have in India, we have this identity called the Aadhaar, which is a 12-digit biometrically defined identification for citizens or residents. In fact, it's a 11-digit thing. The 12th digit is a check digit by Veronoff algorithm. So this Aadhaar got launched by an entity called the UIDAI, Unique Identification Authority of India, in January. I mean, this UIDAI was set up under what was then called as the Planning Commission. Now it is called the Niti Aayog. So it was set up in 2009. And Nandan Nilekani, who was the quite favorite of the then UPA government, he was appointed as the chairman of UIDAI, especially because this Aadhaar was highly technology enabled. So no better person than Nandan Nilekani to be steering this. By the way, other than Aadhaar, there was another thing which was started earlier also, which was called the National Population Register, in which every citizen, not a resident, every citizen was to be given the same 12-digit unique biometrically identified thing. So that was started by the Ministry of Home Affairs. And we had Chidambaram as the then Home Minister, and he was trying to push the National Population Register while the Prime Minister's office was trying to push the Aadhaar. Finally, Aadhaar was chosen, especially by this new government of Modi government, and so Aadhaar became very popular. So the first Aadhaar was issued in September 2010. I got my Aadhaar in, I think, November 2011. And this is very popular now. So even a baby who's born, they are issued a temporary Aadhaar number and all that. So virtually everybody now has got an Aadhaar number, and it's on demand. So if somebody doesn't have an Aadhaar, they can walk into the nearest Aadhaar center or the post office, and then they can get a Aadhaar number generated for them. Okay. In 2012, the UIDI set up a system for the government departments and telecom companies to verify the Aadhaar number with them. And this verification was of two parts. One, you could simply key in the Aadhaar number, any government department or telecom company which is issuing a SIM card. And then UIDI will respond back saying that this is a valid Aadhaar number or not, yes or no. Or if you had the authority to query them, you could get the name, you can get the address and so on, all the details of it. Okay. Then in November 2012, the previous government, the UPA government, they said they will launch Aadhaar linked direct cash transfers or direct benefit transfers, as we call it in India. And the first payment was done on 1st January 2013. I was involved in that. This direct cash transfer was given to a lady who had given a birth to a boy in Pondicherry. And we were the first people to do this transfer for this. This is called a scheme called the Janni Suraksha Yojana, where a mother who comes to a government hospital for delivery, she is given some 600 rupees or 1000 rupees as an incentive to come to a delivery center. I'll come to this Aadhaar linked payment later, and so that will build up the story. The second thing which happened is the establishment of what is called as the NPCI, National Payments Corporation of India. Okay, so this was set up by 10 banks at the request of the Reserve Bank of India to handle retail payments. Retail payments means low value, high volume payments. Okay, so this was the mandate of NPCI. And Narayan Murthy, the co-founder of Infosys, was made the chairman of NPCI. Okay. And RBI deputed Mr. P.C. Hota as the CEO of NPCI. Okay. On another front, ATMs in 87 itself, they were set up by HSBC in Bombay. And then they set up multiple locations. And then HSBC developed their own software so that the customer need not go to the same branch to withdraw the money or deposit cash. He could go to any HSBC branch and then do it. Similarly, other banks like ICICI and all that, they started putting in the ATMs. And then it became the question of interoperability, how a customer could walk into any ATM and then withdraw his money from his bank. So some softwares were tried out, but then became very cumbersome. So again, RBI through the IDRBT, they came up with the National Financial Switch in 2004, which linked all the country's ATMs. Very interestingly, immediately after the NPCI was set up, the first thing that was given to them by the RBI was this National Financial Switch, which means NPCI in the first few months was only doing the ATM switching transactions. Okay. But then with this technology, they got the linkages with the banks, and they also got the technology of handling the interbank verification, because when you insert your card in the ATM, uh, there has to be that verification from the bank that this is a valid card. And then when the person keys in the amount for withdrawing, then the balance has to be verified by the bank and all that. So all that transactions happens at the background, which the technology that NPCI was able to obtain. Okay. So that was the national financial switch. IDBRT also, they had a system called the electronic clearing system, electronic clearing service, which is a bulk transfer service, which means, for example, if a customer has to every month has to pay back a loan taken from a bank, then he has to fill up the ECS form, give it to his bank, and then every month the repayment will be done directly from his account to the bank from which he has taken his loan. Or if a office has to make salary payments, then one time they can put in a ECS form in his bank, and then maybe 100 people or 1000 people, they will get their salaries, which whatever changes that are required. So this is the ECS. So ECS itself was transferred to the NPCI. So ECS is essentially like NEFT RTGS for handling retail payments. So with the national financial switch and the ECS, essentially NPCI had the capacity what IDRBT had of doing fund payments, transfers, and all that. And courtesy Hota and his team, they leverage these two things, in national financial switch and the electronic clearing system, to design three things. In fact, four. I'll not talk of four much. But the first thing that they designed was called the immediate payment service, IMPS. It was launched in 2010. And this is a real-time 24/7 by 365 interbank electronic fund transfers for low value, high volume transactions. Okay. Earlier, I had spoken about the settlement of funds. In case of IMPS, when it started, the limit of single transaction that was allowed was only up to rupees 1 lakh. And in this case, no fund settlement used to happen. The fund settlement only used to happen at the night at 8 p.m. So the bank started crying, saying that we run out of funds. So please settle the funds. So then they started with 3 times settlement, and now finally they have 8 times settlements in a day. And then the money that was allowed to be transferred through IMPS was enhanced to 2 lakhs. And now for some purposes, up to 5 lakhs is required. But essentially, two things are still there. It is only for low volume, high capacity, high volume, low value payments. But the payments are instantaneous. When I say instantaneous, it means really instantaneous. Within seconds, the payments happen. The confirmation comes back to the sender. The confirmation comes to the receiver also. Okay. So this is what they leverage both from the ECS and the national financial switch. The second thing that they did is enhance the ECS to create what is called as the NACH, National Automated Clearing House. So it is just like NEFT, low volume, low value, high volume payments. And third thing that they did was the Aadhaar based payments, which I'm going to talk later. Okay. Which Aadhaar based payments, which only use the Aadhaar number as the financial address. Remember earlier we spoke about the IFSC code plus bank account as the financial address. but this Aadhaar based payments only uses Aadhaar. I'm going to talk about it now. Okay. The fourth thing that NPCI has also done, in fact, it has done so much more, is it has issued what are called as the RuPay card, RUPAY, which is equivalent to Visa or MasterCard. So RuPay cards they work exactly like Visa or MasterCard. Essentially, they work in India, but I believe now they are going to work in some other countries also. So
So,
on a
Subodh,
separate, yeah,
quick question. So,
yeah.
I understand the IFSC that it's a account to account. For the Aadhaar based, is there a link to the person's default
I'll
bank?
come to that. Just
Okay,
hold on. I'm coming to
okay,
that. Next few
thanks.
slides. Yeah. So this is what, so two things, Aadhaar and the NPCI. So these two developments happened over a period of time, starting from 2004, 5 to 2009, 10, 11, 12. Okay. So how the two friends put in a brilliant system, Nandan Nilekani and Narayan Murthy. So in case of a traditional thing, I need to put in the IFSC code and the account number. The bank sends it to IDBRT using the IFSC account number. The IFSC code, we know it contains the bank name. So IDBRT will route it to the correct bank, and then the bank will credit to the correct account. So this is the traditional way of doing things. Okay. In the Aadhaar based thing, what needs to be done is, when I look at from the right hand side, this side, okay, the customer has to go to the bank and say, please put in my Aadhaar number along with my account number also. Okay. So this is called seeding of the Aadhaar in the bank account. Already the bank has got so many other details, his name, his address, his PAN card, his mobile number or whatever. So this is another field which gets added in the banking system. So Aadhaar number. Okay. At the NPCI level, they created, other than the NACH I told you, they created another system which is called the Aadhaar Payment Bridge, APB, which has got two fields, which is the Aadhaar number and the bank name or the bank number, which is called the Institutional Identification Number, IIN number. So what happens is, during the day, as many customers asked to feed in their Aadhaar number in the account, at night at 9 p.m., the banks send this information to the NPCI to update the table. Okay. So NPCI has got a 2-column lookup table, Aadhaar number and IIN number. So every night, all the banks, they push in at 9 p.m., they push in this information, and this Aadhaar payment bridge gets updated. Okay. Now to use Aadhaar as a financial address, I only need to capture the person's Aadhaar number and account. And the sender's bank, which is the bank from which I'm going to send the account, it only needs to send this Aadhaar number to NPCI for this Aadhaar payment bridge. Once it sends that, then NPCI does a lookup on this table, gets the bank, because Aadhaar number doesn't contain the bank. It does a lookup on the bank, sends it to the correct bank. The bank has got the lookup table for Aadhaar number and account, and then it can credit. Okay. So this is how Aadhaar-based payments work. And this system was leveraged by the government to do Aadhaar-based payments, Aadhaar-based direct cash payments. So instead of collecting the beneficiary's name, the address, the IFSC code, account number, and all that, we only need to collect the Aadhaar number and then fill in the amount and then push it, and the money gets credited to the beneficiary's account. So this is how Aadhaar based direct cash transfers or direct benefit transfers happen. Okay.
So Subodh, there is
Am
a
I
question
clear?
from Murli.
Yeah.
What if one Aadhaar is associated with multiple bank accounts or multiple
I'm
banks?
coming to that. I'm coming to
Okay.
that. I'm coming to that.
Or multiple
Yeah.
accounts in the same bank, right?
I'm coming to that. I'm coming to that.
Okay.
Yeah. So far clear. Okay, I get it. Okay, so this is how just a sample of how it works. So this is the Aadhaar payment bridge. So it has got a lookup table, Aadhaar number, bank IIN number, Aadhaar number, bank, Aadhaar number, bank, Aadhaar number, bank, and so on. And within, for example, in bank number 6, they have this Aadhaar number linked to the account number. Okay. Similarly, for bank number 157, they have got a Aadhaar number 196 linked to a bank, and so on. So this is how this Aadhaar number thing works. Okay. I'm glad you guys have already figured out what could be the problems. Okay.
Everyone is a software engineer here.
Yeah. Buckets. So the first problem is there that the payment goes only to the latest seeded bank account. What happens if some new account gets seeded with Aadhaar? A person may have multiple accounts in the same bank, but the bank, whichever is the latest seeded, will push it at 9 p.m. to the NPCI, and that'll get put in the lookup table. Also, if a person seeds the bank account in another bank, the latest bank will go into the lookup table. So the payment goes only to the latest seeded bank account. So this is the biggest problem in Aadhaar based payments. Huge problem. In fact, I had faced multiple problems in this, but two I still remember. One is we were trying to do cash payments in lieu of the food subsidy. So where food grains are given, so we are trying out in the union territories. So we tried out in Puducherry again. And then the Secretary Foods calls me one day saying that there is a dharna outside his office by the ladies saying that they didn't get the money. And neither they got the grain nor the money, and what is the problem and all that. So then we figured out that the money went to the latest seeded bank account. And then we shared the list to which bank account the money had gone, and then he could tell the ladies and all that. And a similar thing happened in Tripura, where the minister called me saying that the people are creating a hue and cry, they didn't get the money and all that. Then the State Bank of India GM called me saying that his bank branch has been stoned and all glasses have been broken and all that. So it happened only because of this. The money goes to the latest seeded bank account. Some via media has been done in the sense that the person can fill up a form now and say that please don't send this information to NPCI or send this information only to NPCI and all that, but people are not so literate and all that. So this is still a problem, Okay.
So, Subodh, I mean, you saw how
Yeah.
quickly some of us, as soon as you described the system, asked these questions which seemed to point to the problems in Aadhaar-based payment systems. And what
Yeah.
I'm curious about is, given the two founders of Infosys were responsible for the design of this and implementation of this system, why such a glaring hole ever reach the marketplace or deployment?
I had a big fight with Nandan, and he used to hate me. In fact, at every opportunity in any meeting, he would fire me. But then he realized that the problem, and then he became great friends. So now whenever I meet him, he he understands what I used to tell him. So I think they had this thing of doing something, pushing some technology and all that. Uh, Largely, it has been settled in the sense that people are also now aware. The banks also are aware, uh, and all that. So largely, it has been settled, but still at a very low level, it's still a problem. The second problem is that while the money can perhaps go to the correct account what the customer wants, but the money will only go to one account. So if a person, let us say from Chapra, he is working in Mumbai, he wants his family to get his LPG subsidy in Chapra, but he wants some other subsidy to be given to him in Bombay. That cannot happen. Still, the money will only go to one account, whatever he chooses. So he'll either go to Chapra or he'll go to Bombay. So this still is a problem. The third
Why
thing
he
which
can always
happened,
specify different bank accounts. He can just specify the bank accounts rather than the Aadhaar number.
no, then the money will not go through the Aadhaar payment bridge. The money will go to the normal channel,
So I
normal
think
IFSC plus bank
Okay.
account.
this is an issue with basically when the government is issuing out money, right? But private citizen to
Correct.
citizen, this is not an issue. So this is when the government, which is the authority for the Aadhaar numbers, is trying to dole out money and is trying to minimize the information it has to maintain for this. It's basically using
Correct.
stuff which doesn't work. Okay.
Correct. And then people filed in PIL in Supreme Court saying that government is unnecessarily harassing people to give their Aadhaar number and all that. So Supreme Court in 2013 said that Aadhaar could be only collected by the government. So no individual or bank or any other authority or anybody else can collect the Aadhaar number and say that I'll do Aadhaar based payments. And then they said they could only do cash transfer for some identified social welfare schemes only. So that limited this Aadhaar payment bridge only to the government payments. Okay. The fourth thing which is there is people are just like they are reluctant to share their bank account numbers. People are also reluctant to share their Aadhaar number. Okay. While initially there was not much problem of sharing the Aadhaar number, but now that the Aadhaar number is linked to almost everything that a citizen has, whether a passport or mobile number or PAN or you name it, your bank account, everything is linked to Aadhaar. So people are reluctant, saying that if somehow people can do a back check and then they can get hold of my other data. I'm sure a lot of other data is floating around in the dark web. So people are genuinely reluctant to give their Aadhaar number also. So what finally means is that Aadhaar number cannot be used by private people to do person-to-person payments or person-to-merchant payments. Okay. So this is what the story of Aadhaar-based payments was. Okay.
Well, just
So
just
maybe
a
yeah.
just a clarification. I mean,
Yeah.
the Aadhaar-based payment was an alternate way of doing real-time transactions, although the parents, I'm a little bit confused about it. But the other two things that you described for citizen to citizen were not deprecated by any means, right? Those were
Not at all.
always
Not at all.
available.
They were always available.
So
Yeah.
why
They
would
are still
somebody,
available.
so why would somebody push this for citizen to citizen? What's the advantage of using an Aadhaar-based system for doing citizen to citizen transfer?
Again, if somebody asks the account number, people normally don't want to share the account number. It's also just like Aadhaar number. Okay, unless it is really required. So I just
Yeah,
want to
is
share.
it also because of this anti-fraud, anti-money laundering? You really want to know who the person is behind the account. Isn't that right?
That is That is if the money is coming from outside. If the
But
money is
even
coming from
within the
outside,
country,
even within the country, for a private transaction, the government essentially doesn't have a role unless there is a specific case it wants to find out. Then it has all the powers to find out.
But the banks
Yes, it
do
can
a
find out.
KYC. The banks do a
Yeah.
KYC. So if I'm doing account to account transfer, I mean, it's between two KYC people.
Two private chaps, any third person cannot find out any transaction which happens bank to bank. The bank is not supposed to reveal that. They can only reveal to investigating agencies if there is a specific case. Okay.
Subodh,
like for
if
example, in the US, any large transactions, especially if you do multiple large transactions, that's tracked, and they will try to figure out who did it because it could be.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. So it happens in India also. Uh, any suspicious transactions, and there is a list of what is suspicious transactions. Any large value transactions, they're all reported by the bank to. We have a financial intelligence unit within the Ministry of Finance, and also within the RBI. So all these are tracked. Any banking transactions of high value, multiple, and all that, suspicious and all that, they are tracked.
And Netk makes money on all this by his anti-money laundering. So every
Yeah.
time you do this, Netk goes ka-ching.
he gets 1 cent on every transaction, there are trillions
Yeah.
every day. So Subodh,
Yeah.
if you are doing any kind of business with government and you receive a payment from government or undertaking, now they only pay bank transfer. So you have
Correct.
to necessarily give your bank account details.
Correct.
So your bank account details are known to make, I mean, the
You are not audible. You are not audible, Saurabh.
You're breaking up.
Okay, can you hear me better? No.
Yeah.
So I was asking, why are people diffident about sharing bank account number when this is the position? Most of the people at some time or the other are receiving some payment from government.
If you go to rural areas, typically they just don't want to share their bank account numbers.
No, but even the
With
Aadhaar number they have
difficulty.
to share. I mean, if they're getting some benefit, direct benefit, then also they have to share Aadhaar at least.
Correct. So initially people were, even now people are more convenient in sharing their Aadhaar number rather than the bank account number. Also, there is a problem. See, Aadhaar, IFSC and Aadhaar is a 27 or 25, 27 digit thing. So transcribing that, it's more error prone than transcribing a 12 digit number. Okay. So
Yeah.
that also is a factor. Okay. So let me come to this. So how did I get involved in all this? So when I came back from Timor in 2012, I was given the charge of developing an IT system for the government, which is called the Public Financial Management System. So it's a multiple thing, but in one hat, it is essentially an ERP system for the government. It's also a cash transfer enabling system for the government. So all the cash transfers that happens from the government of India, it happens through this PFMS system. This PFMS system also, in the third thing, it keeps track of all the money which the government of India spends. All means all, last rupee, including the money which is given to the state governments or to the other other autonomous entities and all that. So the last money which is spent, even at the village level, at the school level and all that, given by the central government, is tracked by the system. So I was given to design this, implement this. So from 2012 till I retired, I was handling this. So one of the things that I told you, we also used to do the direct cash transfers. So in the beneficiary details, as Sanjay was saying, you can have both. You can have Aadhaar number account or IFSC code and account. And this PFMS system will send this to the bank, which is the ministry's bank or department's bank, and then the same process of payments, Aadhaar number or whatever, that will happen. We also did two things before we even sent it to the bank. We would validate the IFSC and the account number and the name and all that with the beneficiary's bank, so which is this arrow. And we'll also validate the Aadhaar number with whether this Aadhaar number is sitting in the NPCI or not. If it is not sitting, we'll not send this payment to the bank and send it back to the department saying that this Aadhaar number doesn't exist. And so the payment will result in a failure. So I got involved, deeply involved in the banking system. I got deeply involved in development and management of this NPCI and all the banks and all that. So with RBI and all that. So a large part of my thing got involved in this banking system and NPCI and RBI. So in 2015, we were sitting in Secretary IT's room. There was a meeting, and then Secretary IT got called for a meeting in the Prime Minister's office. So he pushed off for an hour and a half. So we had some time with us. So there I told Hota. Hota was also sitting there. I think Ministry of Education, there was some problem with the scholarship portal that they had. So Cabinet Secretary wanted us to resolve this. So then I told Hota that you already have a 2-column lookup table of Aadhaar. Why don't you create another lookup table which will have, instead of Aadhaar, it will have a private identity. Okay. So just like Aadhaar is seeded by the customer in the bank, this private ID can also be seeded by the customer in the bank. And to send money, you only need to ask this virtual Aadhaar, virtual alias. Okay. So virtual alias can be anything which I like. So it can be Subodh IITK at SBI. If I have 2 accounts, then I can say this relates to account 2. If I have account in HSBC, then I can say it is SBI or anything. I can say Munne ki Amma or Irfan ke Abbu or anything which I can remember. So that I can create as a virtual ID. And so I told Hota that you create a virtual table like this. Instead of Aadhaar number and IN, you create a virtual ID in this, and then ask the banks to create another column called the customer virtual ID. So Hota understood partially. I drew out on a note sheet pad. He understood partly. Then he said, I have understood something, but I'm not clear. So can you send me something? So I sent him an email detailing all this, saying that if you do this, then we don't need an Aadhaar number. And the good part is the customer can have unique ID for each bank account. Okay. And I only need to tell my simple thing. If I want to receive money or send money, I just need to tell this only. I don't have to tell Aadhaar number. I don't have to tell IFSC code. I don't have to tell anything. I just need to share this and the money will come to me, or if I'm sending to somebody, I just need to get this and the money will go to them. So this is something I called it as simplified payment interface. And so this is what I shared with AP Hota. So when I sent that email to him with all the details, these kind of details to him, plus some more write-up, then Hota called me up, and then Dilip Asbe called me up. Dilip Asbe is now the CEO of NPCI. And then they said, yes, we'll work on this. And so they worked on this, and then they called it as UPI, Unified Payment Interface. Okay. So they discussed with the banks, and then the banks also agreed to create another column and all that. And finally, they did an internal check, and then Raghuram Rajan in April, he soft launched it actually. There was nothing to be launched, but he launched it in April. And then they leveraged this IMPS service for this UPI. And to enable people to use it, you needed a front-end mobile app. Something which I told Hota also, that if you need to make it popular, if you want to make people to use this, then it has to be a mobile app only. Because internet banking, people are not very familiar, especially people who are older or they don't remember their ID passwords and all that. So Ministry of IT and NPCI, they created what is called as the BHIM app, Bharat Interface for Money, which was launched by the PM Modi. Okay, so this BHIM app was launched, and that's how this UPI got started in December. Okay. Just that this customer ID, in fact, anything can be changed to a QR code. So this instead of even asking for this unique ID, you can display a QR code, and then the money can be transferred using this QR code. So what the banks did is that instead of asking each customer to create their unique ID, by default, they created a unique ID for every customer, for every bank account that they had, for every customer. For example, this is my mobile number, correct? So they added something to this depending on the bank, and they put this at, and then their bank ID, or if it's an application, then application ID and so on. So this becomes my unique address. Okay. I can change this. I can change this. The banks or the app, they query the NPCI whether it's a unique thing or not. If it is unique, I can change it still. But I don't care. Yeah, this is okay for me. Okay.
Subodh, this number does not have the international code like for 991 for India. So that means it's linked only to Indian.
I told you, this is nothing. I can type in anything. I can type in as IITK, my roll number here. It doesn't matter.
Okay.
It doesn't matter. It can be anything. Okay. In my IITK roll number was 77277. So my unique ID can be IITK 77277. Bas, that's all. Anything, that's all. Nothing more. And then it has to be linked to the bank. So some linkage to the bank has to be there. That's all. Nothing more.
But what I found, Subodh, is that, when you try to create a UPI number, they ask you for your mobile number. And you can only get a mobile number if you have an Aadhaar number. So that leaves out foreigners and temporary residents.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So typically the banks have created their own by default using the mobile number. But still the choice is there. I can change anything, right? Using the app, or go to the bank and they'll change my ID number. So this BHIM app you can download on your mobile, and then if I need to send money to somebody else, I only need to key in their virtual ID, and then key in the amount, key in my user ID PIN, and then the money goes. I mean, internally, a lot of things happen in the sense that the app sends it to NPCI, NPCI sends it to my bank, which verifies that this ID exists. It confirms that. Then the NPCI also sends the receiver's ID to the to receiver's bank. The bank also confirms that the ID is there. Then the money transfer happens between this bank and this using this NPCI stuff. But all this happens in real time, and literally if the net speed is fast, literally you can get the response back in 1 second or 2 seconds. And both the customer and the receiver, they can get the response back in 2 seconds, 1 second. Because it rides on the IMPS system. So this is how this NPCI UPI stuff works. The concept is very, very simple at the back end.
So Subodh, just to get a sense of scale, how many transactions like this are occurring per second?
I'll come to that. I'll come to that. Yeah. So this is how the Beam app looks. You can choose the language. There are multiple options, that I'm not going to go into that. There are YouTube videos how to use Beam and all that. So this Beam was launched by NPCI in consultation with the Ministry of IT. But then there are so many apps now. For example, this PhonePe app is there. Very interestingly, the US companies are behind this. So Google Pay is obviously by Google. PhonePe is by Walmart. Amazon Pay is by Amazon, of course. And Paytm, the Chinese companies behind them, and RBI has now virtually banned this Paytm. So by next month, this app, which is one of the most popular apps.
Not the app, only the bank. No, only the Paytm bank will go.
Essentially, Paytm bank will go, but essentially they have stopped the wallet. They have stopped so many things. So virtually payments you can still do, but then since the bank has gone, so the money will. So Paytm is now. I just read today that Axis Bank is now ready to take in as the banking support to them. So hopefully things will work out, but it's still a very fluid thing. But
you
anyway,
mean I won't be able to deposit money into that Paytm wallet and use the wallet?
No,
the wallet will go.
I see.
You better take out all the money in the wallet.
Okay.
Now it has been extended to 15th March, but it's better not to leave any money in the wallet. Okay. So there are many other apps which also have UPI. For example, this is from State Bank of India, YONO, which also has UPI, but you can also do shopping, tickets, bill payments, mobile, travel. So many things you can do. HDFC has got Pays app. Airtel mobile company has got app called Airtel Thanks, and so on. Some companies like Bajaj Finance or MobiKwik or Fave, they have leveraged this for using credits, which is called Buy Now, Pay Later, BNPL. So you can do the payments immediately, but then you can pay to these companies later using, so as a credit, you can use it. So multiple apps are there now handling UPI and add-on features. UPI also has got a, yes, please.
One question. See, whatever I'm doing with Google Pay, can the same thing be done by YONO also? Same thing, just transferring through from me to a vegetable vendor. We can do through YONO also.
If you have a account with the SBI.
I know I have it, but I've never used YONO for such things, so I'm wondering whether it can be done.
You could.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. So UPI has got a request payment also. For example, if I want money from, let's say, a student wants money from the payment, so he can send a request payment to the parents' mobile app, and then the parent only has to key in the amount and the or the receiver can key in the amount, the parent can key in the PIN number and the money goes back. So request also can be done through the UPI. The source of funds for UPI transactions can obviously be from the bank accounts. They can also be from the overdraft account or prepaid wallets. And now cards also are allowed. So cards, including credit cards, can be the source of funds, which Visa and MasterCard are badly, they want to oppose this badly because it.
So Subodh, I mean, I see lots of ways of doing the same thing, which is essentially a free transfer of money. There's no charge involved in the transferring from my account to somebody else's account, etc.
Correct.
What is the advantage of giving my account information to Google rather than using my own bank's UPI interface?
I don't give my bank account to the Google. Google only knows my virtual ID. That's all.
Okay.
Yeah.
Subodh, there's a question from Rajiv Desai. If I have understood the question correctly, he says that if there is a joint account, only one mobile number is associated with that account. Now, how does when I go to Google Pay and if I and my mother share that account, can we both download and operate the same account from our respective mobile numbers?
You mean one account number has got two linked mobile numbers?
See, one is a joint account between my mother and me.
Fair enough.
Now, can my mother do payments on that from her mobile, and I can also make payments from that same account from my mobile?
Yeah, you can have your own unique IDs. Yeah, absolutely.
No, but when it does a verification, does it not check for the mobile number that that the transaction is being carried out from the registered mobile number?
See, what is registered mobile number is only for the app. So app knows that you have got your own unique ID and you have your mobile number. So as far as app is concerned, app is happy. And as far as the bank is concerned, you will have your own unique ID for you, both for the mother and the other person.
But my mother's number is the one that is associated with the account. Then how can I, on my phone, how would the app allow me to use that account for making a payment?
You can have 10 virtual accounts associated with one physical.
Right, I guess.
Yeah, you can have.
So this is Rajiv. So I I raised the question because I faced this problem a couple of weeks ago when I was in India, and my wife was as well. So my bank, which is ICICI, does not allow linking more than one mobile phone number with any one account, joint or not. And so, and then of course the GPay will not, GPay.
One of my neighbors was telling me that's essential.
Sorry, I
think that's a lot. I told that I'm not there.
Some background noise. I'm sorry. It's not me. So what happens is that only one of the phone numbers, one of the GPay apps can be associated. You're right. I mean, ideally there should be virtual IDs. They shouldn't really care about the mobile number, but they did because the GPay itself cannot verify. It uses the phone number to verify that, and since phone number is unique, it only goes to one single account, and that's kind of a problematic.
Okay, maybe there's something that either GPay or ICICI has done that. I'm not too
So
sure.
I checked with the bank. GPay I cannot call, but I did talk to the bank, and they said no. We frankly, only one of you can use it, or alternately, you have two accounts in the bank, and
Which
then
doesn't make sense.
Which doesn't make sense, right? So that's I think the solution is the virtual ID, but I think for whatever reason ICICI doesn't do that.
I mean, they should be allowed. I mean, anyway, up to the bank. Okay.
Yeah,
these are the different-
Subodh, Abhay here.
Yeah.
Now, on the same note, even SBI, I have accounts at SBI, and they allow only one mobile number to be connected to your account, whatever it is. So if my wife and I have a joint account, there's only one mobile number, that is mine, which is connected to it. So is it, I guess it must be pretty common in India. So that becomes a real restriction across the spectrum, I guess.
I don't know. My wife and we have a joint account in Axis Bank, and her mobile also is get registered with the same account. And so if either of us does any transaction, both of us get an SMS back.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would make sense
perhaps-
if they allowed multiple mobile numbers to be connected to
Yeah,
one.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So
fact,
SBI is a problem, definitely.
Not only mobile, her email ID is also different. So not only in the mobile we get the messages, in the emails also we get separate intimation for the same transaction.
Yeah.
So if she spends the money, I also get the message. If I spend the money, she also gets the message.
Yeah, that's what I had. That works, except that limited to one mobile number.
Yeah, but is this a difference
email
between
ID.
is this a difference between nationalized banks and private banks, or?
I don't know.
I
But
think
Rajiv was saying about ICICI, which is a private bank.
ICICI also not nationalized, but I think this seems to be bank specific. I will have to check with some other banks and see if it works.
So
Or it might have to do, it might also have to do with Indian nationals and those who are not Indian nationals, because we are hearing Abhay and Rajiv Desai and Sanjay mentioned this were all now not Indian nationals.
it's not, I think it has nothing to do with Indian nationals or not, because at SBI you can only provide only one mobile number per account. That's it. Doesn't have to do with whether you're NRI or Indian resident.
Okay.
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 Let's go on.
Fine. I'll just quickly finish now. So as I said, initially this thing was allowed only for smartphones, but then a large portion in India, they don't have smartphones. So NPCI created something called UPI 123 Pay. So you can dial *99# and then you can do very similar things as in the UPI. Similarly, for low value payments, you can create a wallet up to 2,000 rupees on the phone, and then you can use UPI Lite for payments. Some ads also come on TV which shows a girl using UPI Lite while the guy they are sitting in a restaurant, they want to pay the bill. So while the guy is trying to struggle with doing all this payment, the girl immediately makes the payment using UPI Lite. UPI autopay is there, so utility bills and all that you can configure using this. This Aadhaar based UPI payments are also there. Suppose you have forgotten to take your mobile and you go to a shop where you buy something and then you realize you didn't bring your mobile. So you can't do a mobile UPI payment. So in this case, the POS machine, if it has got a biometric scanner, so the POS machine, he'll fill the amount and all that. And then in the biometric scanner, you can just put in your finger. So at the back end, the Aadhaar will get linked to your bank account, and then it'll verify and all that. And then UPI payments can also be done. Not very popular, but in villages, in rural areas, this is slightly popular. Okay. e-rupee has been tried out, which is like a food coupon and all that. So where a prepaid gift voucher can be delivered to mobile, which can be used only at some centers. For highway toll payments, the FASTag can be recharged using the UPI, so which is seamless. You can you can continue crossing multiple tolls, and this automatically gets the amount gets recharged in the FASTag. Dynamic QR codes are there, so you don't have to scan separately for verifying the customer unique ID. He keys in the amount also, so in one go you can make the payment using the amount SDN. Some apps, I'll show you the screenshot. Unified QR code at restaurants. So all the QR code will contain the menu. It also, you can select this, and then you can, using the same code, you can do the payment also. Okay. So many innovations have taken place with the base of UPI. For example, this is the screen of unified. So they have already put in the amount, so you just scan it, the amount is already there, and then click on, you key in your the QR code, put in your PIN number, and the amount gets debited. This is at Haldiram. So you just sit there. Those of you who have a scanner, you can actually scan this. But please don't pay. If you are from India, don't pay. Otherwise, somebody sitting on table number 5 at Haldiram will get a surprise gift. Okay, so here you can see the menu, you can select, and then using this itself, you can, using UPI, you can pay. Okay. This is the growth of UPI. So started sometime in 2016, and then till December, it is almost 100 billion transactions, and then it is increasing really, really fast. Okay. I think Sanjay Patel was asking how many transactions. So this I've taken a screenshot for August. So August 23, 10 billion transactions. So now you can figure out how many transactions per hour, per minute, per second. So approximately 10 to 12 billion transactions per month. Okay. This is, so in June it was 9.34 billion, July 9.96, August 10.58. The money amount also is going up, 14.75, 15.34, 15.76, and so on. So this is
Subodh,
yeah.
The government or these clearance houses that have been set up by the government and is paying for them is hosting the man in the middle servers, right? The app is sending messages to this server, and then the server is reacting. So I presume, given this is a nationwide service, these servers are hosted in multiple clouds throughout the country. And if anything goes wrong in this chain, who is responsible for the security of, is there something that says my system has been hacked, money has been taken from my account and moved into some, and then it's been moved on, etc. Who owns the security of this system to say, yeah, that you are covered for this kind of crap if it occurs to you?
So this UPI is being handled by NPCI. So anything at the UPI end, NPCI is responsible. Okay. The second is the applications like Google Pay or Phone Pay or whatever. So between Reserve Bank of India and the NPCI, they have got a system which keeps track of the safety and security of these applications. And these applications can only be launched only after they have gone through a series of security checks through the RBI, through India's what we have called the CERT-In, which is the National Security Cyber Security Service. And it's a continuous process. So if anything goes wrong with the UPI, NPCI is responsible. If anything goes wrong with the app, the app gets responsible. But overall supervision is done by the RBI. So effectively, RBI gets the final responsibilities because the RBI is responsible for all the payments and settlements which happen in India or abroad from India or that. So
That makes
the,
makes sense. That makes sense. Is fraud a problem? I mean, is there certain tracking of what fraction is? No.
I haven't heard any fraud. Last few months, some wrong payments were done in one of the banks. So there was some problem with the banking thing and all that. So payments were transferred to a wrong bank and all that. So that
No,
was
but
fixed.
at the individual transaction level, right? Like in the for credit cards, you can dispute a charge. So, for example, if a merchant has your UPI number, they after your valid charge, the next day that merchant could potentially put a fraudulent charge in, right? Or they can't.
They can't because the PIN PIN has to be on your mobile in the app. So he can't put your PIN.
Unless it has some way of guessing the PIN, right? So, okay. That's the only way. Okay, got it.
Yeah. I haven't read anywhere that there have been large scale frauds. If anybody in India has heard about them, you can join in. But I haven't heard any significant or even one fraud which has happened because of UPI. I haven't heard.
No, see, people can call you up and say, "Oh, you're soon going to get a PIN number. Just pass it on to me. I'm doing this for you or that for you," and then they are siphoning off money from your account.
Yeah,
That
all
happens.
that can happen.
But wait, they still need physical access to your phone. They can't put it on their phone.
Yeah,
I see. Okay.
Unless they clone your phone also.
Yeah, they can. Yeah.
So then
now you're talking serious shit, yeah.
So they need to clone your phone and then also get to know your PIN number. Yeah, I mean that is a fraud. So these things can happen.
Subodh, there are a couple of questions in the chat box. One from Albert and another from Rajiv Desai. Could you just, and then from Pankaj, could you just look at them and respond? At the bottom, last 3-4 questions.
You want me to look at them?
Yeah, Albert, it would be better if you just unmute yourself and ask a question. It's rather long. Or Rajiv Desai, you can go. Or
Subodh, Subodh, this is Albert.
Yeah.
My question is, once this thing happened to me at the petrol pump, where suddenly my old Paytm, I think after GST on transactions, suddenly refused to take it from the wallet and forced me into a linking process, which happened while I was at the petrol pump trying to pay using Paytm. And I got psyched out of my mind because I got an SMS from some number which I couldn't identify. And one huge string of alphanumeric characters came to my phone and I was supposed to transmit it back. And I got shit scared. I dropped the whole thing. I paid my credit card. I went back home. I looked up Paytm's call service number. There was no way I could call to identify, is this normal or what? I was scared for a couple of days, expecting a hack or something like that. Then I downloaded the Beam app and I realized that the Beam was doing the same thing to and I did it all from my home. And then I got scared again. Then I downloaded the SBI app and I tried the same thing with the SBI Beam, and the same thing happened. And now I've sort of reconciled myself that I think this is some jugad or some trick that they're doing that relies on some time interval based notion of if it's sufficiently small time interval, sufficiently large string of characters, then it's probably safe. And they kind of validate the linkage of your phone to the your device to whatever your account you're trying to do on Paytm, on UPI. But I felt very nervous about the whole thing. I don't know whether this is been shown or been tested to be this handshake protocol is tested to be safe. End of question.
I'm not aware of what long string is being sent. I thought the downloading of the app and all that, it's fairly simple. I haven't done.
I can send you a screenshot. I probably still have a screenshot of it. I can send you a screenshot of those long messages.
Do that. I have no idea of these apps. And
send it to all of us, Albi. We'll hack into your account.
No, actually, what it does actually account when you download any account, it verify your mobile number. It takes you have to give the permission for text actually or SMS, and then it sends the SMS through your phone, and then reads back. So it knows it is your number.
That is possible.
That sounds similar to my experience, but it's quite a long string. It's just that you're not aware that this thing is happening. You know, if I was aware that this is the process, I would have tolerated it. But suddenly, out of the blue, when it happened, I got shit scared.
But Albi, the same protocol was used in opening my, in authenticating my app with the bank. So, I downloaded the IDFC bank or some account I opened, and in the app, then you get a customer ID, but to, essentially start using the mobile app, you have to go through this handshake. And the first thing they do is have this from your phone send this string that they have generated into send an SMS to their servers. And then it comes back and says, okay, your SIM has been authenticated with. So it's doing a handshake, but that happened even for my initial account association with the app on my phone.
That's correct. So did I. I had to send that SMS back.
No, they automatically send it. Yeah, they automatically send. And but then one security precaution is there. Then you should remove the permission for SMS to that app after verification, after validation.
Acha, you can do that. I didn't know you can do that. Okay.
Yeah, you can go to permission setting and for that app and remove that SMS permission. Actually, I give SMS permission to messages, not to anything else.
Thank you so much. That was very useful. Yeah.
Yeah. Amazon Pay doesn't work without permission. Amazon Pay needs permission. Whenever you transfer through Amazon Pay, then they need permission. Google Pay, they only need at initial stage. Google Pay, SBI, they need only at initial stage. First one time. But Amazon, you have to give every time. But I disable after using it.
Thank you so much. That's very useful. Okay. Thanks.
Subodh, I have two questions. This Google Pay, Phone Pay, Amazon Pay, what is the revenue model?
How can this remain free for how long?
Hello. Let me complete.
Many of them have added, I told you, they have added other add-on services, book tickets, buy something, shopping, this, that. So they earn revenue from that.
But nothing from the individual to individual transactions.
No. And this is what has really made it popular. The moment you start charging it, I think many people will stop using it, because the alternative to this is using cash, and in cash I don't do any other payment, do any other commission. So this is the most important thing, I think, for if I want to pay to the vegetable seller And if I have to, let's say I buy vegetables for 300 bucks, and if I have to pay 2 rupees as charges, I'll rather pay 300 bucks by cash. So
Yeah,
I think the
banks also save a ton of money by not handling the cash and clearing checks.
correct. So
Yes, and
overall, there
government
is a
not printing
overall
money.
there is a overall there is a lot of savings. So so while there have been cases where people say you should be allowed to charge, but overall, if you look at the overall economy, I think overall economy is perhaps better this way. And this was the original report of RBI, I think long back 2003 or 4, less cash economy. There was a report by RBI, and this is what really they wanted. And
So that's the main motivation for the government to support these servers for free. I mean, that they're doing the heavy lifting for sitting in the middle for every transaction. So if they see a financial benefit to keep hosting those for free, the rest of the banks, I mean, it costs them nothing. I think they're using your data service. They're using everything else, basically running an app.
Correct. Even for the banks, it's much better. Otherwise, people will keep rushing to their teller counters, give me cash and all that.
Yes,
It's
yes.
a hassle for them. Yeah. I mean, frankly, if I use it for literally everything, every single thing I use this UPI. But if UPI starts charging, I'll rather withdraw cash from my bank, which is just 2 houses down from my house. And why should I pay anything extra?
Subodh, is there a transaction amount above which you don't use it for normally?
UPI, I think, is only till 2 lakhs or whatever. You can't use it for more.
I thought it was bank
specific. It is the same for the IMPS system, because the backend is IMPS. You can only.
But I thought
2
it was
lakhs is a
bank
lot, right?
specific. I thought it was bank specific though. The banks may allow
something. It has been allowed for college fees payments and all that. I think 5 lakhs has been allowed and things like that. But still, the amount, it is essentially meant for your day-to-day payments, no?
So Subodh, isn't 2 lakhs a lot of money for one transaction?
It's a lot of money. It's a lot of money.
I'm talking about most from the consumer point of view. Are they comfortable with 2 lakhs, or is there a threshold above which people are not comfortable using UPI?
No, as far as
or acceptability, let's say, customer acceptability.
Subodh is frozen.
Subodh seems to have dropped off. Oh,
I think it's frozen.
No, frozen, yeah. He's dropped off. Let him join again.
You should upload the defrosting app. Sorry.
So
What
here's
we
the man
should do
who's
is-
making money on money laundering.
Yeah. He's ripping off the thieves.
Well, let's see who's winning first.
So let us ask Subodh to first finish his presentation, and then we will start our questions again, because I think he has a few slides to go.
I thought he said he was done, but maybe I misunderstood.
We'll just confirm that before we start with our questions again. So then that screen can be removed. See, that share screen can be removed, and then we can see each other.
Since he's not on, it's been removed. I don't see anything on the screen.
Yeah, right now, yeah. Let's, yeah. I'll try and speak with him.
Hey, now I have a quick question. How does this compare to the US systems like Zelle or Venmo?
Who are you asking?
I'm just throwing out a question. I don't know. Anybody can answer that question.
Yeah, yeah, log in again. Yeah. Yeah, share your screen and finish your presentation first, and then we'll resume the questions. Oh God, you want to email it to me, and I'll because Khushro won't be online anymore, so he won't be able to make you the presenter. You send it to me, and I'll run the screen screen. Or you want to go without the screen? We'll be able to hear you. You're not yet. I don't see you there yet. I can't hear you at least. Are you unmuted?
Okay.
Yeah, now you're there.
Yeah. Okay. So I'll only 2-3 screens are there which are not so relevant. So I'll skip that. In any case, Saurabh will share this PPT with all of you. Just last two.
Can't hear you.
Okay, he's gone.
He's gone again. Yeah, you've gone again. You're there, but we can't hear you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, now I can hear you. Carry on.
Yeah. Okay. So some 2-3 countries it's already there. Bhutan, Nepal, UAE, Oman, Singapore, France. In fact, France, recently it has allowed Indians traveling to Eiffel Tower. You can log into the Eiffel Tower website, tour the Eiffel. You can select the level 2 with glass of champagne, and then the UPI app will show you can pay using your India's bank account. You can pay in euros to the and all that. So all that is there, and Singapore has got a liquid group. So hopefully in all the South Asia, including Japan, UPI will be used. There is a Worldline company based in France, so that will help UPI in Europe also. Sri Lanka and Mauritius, I think last week or this week, they have started UPI. Exactly this format, there is only one country which has GIFs, which is called Brazil. And Brazil has got a platform called PIX. Okay, it was launched in 2020. And it has got the same thing as virtual address. So it has got the same immediate payment system, which they call it as SPI, Sistema de Pagamentos Instantaneous. So Brazil has got PIX, and it is rapidly picking up in Brazil. Many countries have got this similar thing, but they don't have real-time payment and anonymization of customer name. So those of you who have been to China recently, you will find that almost all Chinese are doing QR-based payments, but that is linked directly to the account, unlike an anonymous or a virtual ID. US Fed, my sense is they don't have an immediate payment service. What I read is in July last year, in 2023, they started a trial basis and instantaneous payment service. I don't know how much it has progressed, but that is the way it is in US. Of course, you have got PayPal and others to do the online payment. So that's all I have to share.
Subodh, are you familiar with Swish?
I'm not familiar with Swish. Where it is?
At least when I go in Sweden, it's the same. It seems like a UPI system. again, the fruit vendor will use Swish. They basically cash transactions for normal day-to-day have gone to zero. People are
Correct. I
basically
know that.
Swish accounts to make every small payment and so I was wondering if it's any different than the UPI system, or is it just like a clone or a similar system that they're using?
I know Sweden has got largely completely off cash.
Right.
In fact, some of the countries are now wondering whether it's a good idea to go completely off cash, just in case a massive hack happens or a massive catastrophe happens and the entire internet system or the mobile communication system collapses, or to a large extent it collapses, then what happens to the transactions? At least if people have cash, they can do the cash transactions. But if people
I know this was being discussed in Sweden as well, to say, like, is it such a good idea to go completely cashless? So you're completely right about
yeah.
That countries are thinking about, although, but it's the acceptance of, just like UPI in India, Swish is everywhere in Sweden. I mean, just we don't carry cash, we just have Swish.
Yeah. So I've ended my presentation. So any questions which are there?
Hey, Subodh, I just want to make a comment. I have to drop off, but the brilliance is in the simplicity of the whole thing. The fact that you can explain it to us, that's what makes it brilliant. And hats off to you, man, because very few of us have the opportunity to affect 1 billion people. And here is a case where you have directly and personally affected the life of over 1 billion people. So hats off to you, and proud to be your classmate.
Yeah, I was just there at the right time with good set of people, and yeah, working. I mean, Sanjay is here. I think Sanjay Agrawal is here. I don't know if he's still around, but worked with Sanjay Agrawal for doing the cash transfer payments.
Subodh, I'm there.
Yeah. So Sanjay, you can put
So
in
we
your
started
words.
an income transfer scheme for the farmers. 5th of February 2019, the scheme was conceived by Government of India. And on 23rd February, I think less than 20 days, 30 million farmers got their money directly in their account through the system. Less than 20 days from the conceivable scheme and transfer of that money. And the money transferred was few crores to 30 million farmers. So both outstanding work done. I still recall I went to his office to plan the system transfer. His team worked together. Within 3 days, the system was there. Thank you so much. We are all proud of you.
Yeah, that was challenging. That was challenging. On 2nd of February 2019, Sanjay got the approval of the Union Cabinet for doing this scheme. And then hats off to Sanjay and his team, who had to get the beneficiaries list prepared across the states within 10-15 days, get all their Aadhaar number or their bank account IFSC codes and all that. And then we had to verify them. And then suddenly they realized they had to strike out people who were paying income tax. So we had to validate with the tax people. Then they came up with new conditions that you have to validate this, we have to validate that. The money cannot go to a loan account. The money cannot go to this deposit account. All that thing changed. And oh, that was a nightmare. I remember the PS to the Prime Minister, Mr. Nipen Mishra, who's now handling the Ram Janambhoomi, Ram Mandir. So he used to call me, and then a few days before he said, Subodh, if you can do 25 lakh payments, we'll be happy. So I told him, no, sir, Sanjay is trying much more. So what I recall is finally Sanjay was able to give us a list of about 101 crore, some 10-15 lakhs. And 1 crore payments were done that day by the Prime Minister. And I was watching it on TV. And then as soon as the Prime Minister clicked on his tab in Gorakhpur, some of the farmers who were sitting there, they immediately got the message in the mobile saying that the money has been received. So that was interesting, very, very interesting, Sanjay. Really
Within
happy
4
to
hours
be.
of click of the minister, the money went to their accounts of 1 crore 18 lakh farmers and 30 million 3 crore farmers within by 5th of March.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
And outstanding work done, Mr. Subodh. Thank you. System was great. This infrastructure was great.
Yeah. So every day more than almost on the average 50 lakh payments or cash payments are done every day, which goes up to even 3 crore payments per day. So this is the system, PFMS system that we have actually. Yeah. Any more
Subodh, one
questions?
question. Do you have any idea about how much impact this has had on credit card transactions?
Credit cards are essentially handled by people who are in the middle or upper income bracket. And credit card essentially is used by people who want to avail credit, if not for long term, at least for the following month, which is a free period for payment. In general, it has impacted slightly, but as I said, UPI is essentially for day-to-day commercial low-value payments. So to that extent, perhaps it is not so. But my sense is the growth of credit cards have not grown so much in India now.
But I
Especially
think
now
of
that
a,
we have.
I think of a UPI as a debit card, right? I mean, it's essentially a
UPI
debit
is
card.
a debit card. Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
So it's. I mean, those are. I think of it as two separate markets. One is credit card market, and one is the debit card market.
Just
I don't know the
to
impact.
put things in perspective, hi, this is Pankaj here. The debit card transactions contracted by 6.6% in 23, while UPI grew by about 46% in India.
Okay, that's good because now we
So
have
the
a data
debit card
point.
transactions have been hit by UPI. Yeah.
Yeah, guys, we can have our cameras on now. Look good to see each other. And the reason I asked was because I'm aware that there are a lot of people who prefer to use credit cards where they can because they say that then they will get points because they don't suffer the credit card transaction cost. It is the merchant who suffers that. So most merchants are still using credit cards, and a lot of people therefore seem to prefer using credit cards for higher transactions.
No, even for 100 rupees and above, actually, our grocery store, they accept the credit card. So I pay by credit card if it is more than 100 rupees.
I don't have a credit card. I used to have a credit card maybe 15 years back or even that. I don't use credit card at all. In fact, I don't have any credit card, which is a problem in case I want to buy anything from US. It only asks for credit card. It doesn't allow anything else. So it's such a pain to buy anything from US.
Yeah, even visa fee has to be paid on credit card.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you get
actually the way I see it, the advantage of UPI has been to bring in the small vendor into the banking system. Your sabziwala, your roadside vendors and things like that.
Absolutely.
You're buying
I mean,
some 15, 20 rupees.
It's
So
frictionless.
it's a sum total. It's a sum total of things like zero balance accounts, Aadhaar-based KYC. There are a lot of issues about secrecy and privacy, and even the Supreme Court has had its say on it. But one thing we cannot deny is that the unique identification using Aadhaar plus the KYC, which is compulsory in banks, and plus the Jan Dhan accounts and things like that, which the government came up with the zero balance. And then, allowing zero transaction fee based, even small payments. So the other thing which is interesting is that the average value of the UPI transaction is today almost double of what it was when it started. So people are, and there was some discussion, and somebody asked about, are people comfortable paying large amounts through UPI? The transaction limit, I think, is about 1 lakh of rupees a day, although it varies bank to bank. And as Subodh said, for some transactions, they allow higher limits. I mean, the other day, for some reason, I had not renewed my insurance online, and I just happened to be passing the insurance office, company's office. I just popped in, and the guy had a QR code sitting on his desk. And, I paid about 40,000, 35, 40,000, something like that. And I have myself paid 70, 75,000 in one transaction on QR code. So yeah, I think the comfort level is tremendous now. The comfort level is tremendous. So,
Pankaj, if I could put it from the perspective of the credit card company, their aspirational goal always has been to start with, let's say, the higher end of the market and work their way down to the lower end. And that's impossible for them to do in India right now. In fact, they are threatened by the fact that UPI is going up market and eating into their market share. So it's a matter of in any other country they would credit card company goes to they try to penetrate as low as possible, and that is ruled out for India.
Subodh, one question about the Jan Dhan account. Why can't the government simply mandate that all DBTs would happen only to Jan Dhan accounts? And then there would be a unique phone number associated with a unique Jan Dhan account.
See, Jan Dhan account is nothing but what UPI started as zero balance accounts. Okay. Essentially, DBT can be to, and this zero balance accounts is a facility for people, because every bank account there is a minimum deposit limit. So some banks will have a deposit minimum balance limit of 5,000 rupees, or private sector banks will typically have 10,000 rupees or 25,000 rupees. So the zero balance account is for people who cannot afford to keep that minimum balance account with them. So this DBT, DBT is account neutral. Anybody, a farmer may be earning maybe 2 lakh rupees a year or 5 lakhs rupees a year, but if he or she is eligible, then they can have any account. You can't force people to create a zero balance account just for receiving money. That will duplicate accounts unnecessarily. People already have accounts. Many people already have accounts.
So I think, Subodh, the Jan Dhan has close to 500 million. That's a very large number in terms of just penetration of the. Is that about the right number?
It should be even larger, because Jan Dhan is a open format, which means any person who doesn't have a bank account, they can simply walk in any bank and ask them to open a Jan Dhan account. It's on demand. So virtually every family will now have at least one Jan Dhan account in the rural areas.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hi, Subodh. Great presentation. Just a quick question, and somewhat in the light of what happened in 2016 too, right? The demonetization, of course, the black money type implication, right? So question here, how is the tax implication, how is the tax part of it handled? Does this track to like state or income tax, or is there any tax implications here? Like for instance, just asking, is that track to tax?
No. See, you get taxed either for your income. Okay. So if you are receiving income, then you will be taxed. this is UPI is essentially a payment method. So if you are paying to the vegetable seller or a pan wala or a shopkeeper and all that, so you are, instead of cash, you are only paying through this UPI from your bank to that other person's bank. That's all.
They're
So
not exactly
there's
like,
no
No, but if you're
tax implication in this.
No, but if you're
Actually.
paying in a store using your UPI and there is a GST associated with it, they will charge you when you make the payment, you know, based on what the GST. So it's just a payment.
Either you
It's a
pay by
separate
cash.
to the price.
It's just a payment protocol. That's all.
Yeah.
GST will be there whether you pay by cash or pay by
Okay.
UPI. Yeah.
So the vendor has
Okay.
associated, you know,
He'll
added
charge
up
you.
the GST, charged you for.
Yeah, he'll charge you 100 plus 18 rupees towards GST. You're paying 118 rupees. The app doesn't know that you paid 18 rupees of GST. That is at the back end.
That is for the
point of sale. That guy
merchant
is,
to merchant to deposit.
Okay. Yeah. The other question I had, and this is more immediate, right? And for railway tickets or airlines tickets, what do you recommend for, I mean, for somebody traveling from outside to come into India? Which kind of payment method would you recommend? And basically, this has come like last year. We were trying to buy some tickets, but basically, when we buy out on our on our credit card, there's a back check which happens, and somehow it wasn't clearing, and so what would you recommend as if I want to say purchase a railway ticket in India or an internal airlines ticket, what's the best system to use, where it's safe system where my privacy is protected, but I can make a purchase?
I would believe many of the airlines would accept credit cards. I haven't booked a railway ticket for the last 10-15 years, so but I would expect they will also accept a credit card also. IRCTC will accept a credit card also, and also a debit card and net banking and so on. Yeah.
Subodh, I have a quick question. Are you familiar with the Zelle system or Venmo in the US?
Venmo, I've heard. PayPal, I've heard. Yeah.
There's an interbanking system called Zelle, Z-E-L-L-E.
Yeah, I've
it
heard
seems
about
to
it.
be, it seems to be that it's, you know, it needs it's linked to your bank, but there is an anonymous, you select your user ID as opposed to having your social security or whatnot. So, but it is not a merchant paying, it's a person to person payment system.
Person to person, correct.
Person to person or person to business system. Yeah. Now, other question I had is the whole purpose of cashless transaction to get people into a tax net? Because if you're transacting, buying and selling using UPI interface, that transaction is now visible as opposed to having it being a cash basis, which is not visible. So is the government really going to be checking these transactions to look for who owes how much VATs or anything like that?
the question is, what does Modi have in mind for the future?
Yeah.
Certainly, since it's a bank payment, these transactions get logged, unlike a cash-based transactions. My sense is cash-based transactions are largely there in real estate. They're also there in businesses, which want to avoid, which will include the Kirana shop and all that, which will try to avoid cash, which will try to avoid the payment of taxes. So definitely, this will bring in the transactions in the visible net of the government. But those who want to stay out, they still do cash transactions. So I don't think it will be, so people who are doing real estate transactions, they still do in cash. Businesses, if you go to Chandni Chowk in Delhi, they still handle cash. They don't want any UPI, they don't want any credit card, debit cards. They only want cash payments. So those who want to do cash payments or receive cash payments, they'll continue to do it like this. This is just an alternative method to those who find it convenient. That's all.
Well, but as you showed in your presentation, the number of transactions is growing exponentially. So that means people are finding it convenient to make use of. And
Certainly.
out of a total, cash plus all of these non-cash businesses, what's the percentage of a daily, interaction with or cash exchange or money exchange between parties? What's this percentage of how much does, let's say total transaction in a day is $100 billion or 100 billion rupees, and it represents 16 billion rupees. So that's 16% of the total daily exchange. Can you give me some idea on what's the percentage of a daily estimate?
I don't have an estimate. Maybe Pankaj, if he's still around, he can figure out. But my sense it will be close to 50-60%. Will be.
Yeah, that's 50 is pretty good. 50 is pretty good.
Yeah, it's, as I told you, only businesses who want to do cash, they are only doing cash. Real estate people, they want to do cash, they will do cash. Rest of it, common people, they are very happy to do this digital payments.
And in the number of benefits that you showed, it looks phenomenal, and it probably just keeps on growing the number of ways this interface can be used. My wife and I are listening to this, and we were like, wow, this can be done with this, and this can be done with that, and we in the US can't do any of that. So it's very, very useful information to have. And she was like, oh, a simple idea that you have for virtual IDs, that's phenomenal.
Dilip, the poor people, the 90-odd% people of this country who don't pay taxes have nothing to fear to transact on this, because they don't have an income, they don't have a turnover even on this to fall in any income bracket, and they're living a hand-to-mouth existence, really. People who are earning, say, 10,000 or less a month. So, and they are doing multiple transactions every day, small transactions.
Well,
so the number of transactions will go up high.
No, Saurabh, I meant in terms of like VAT, that's the thing that was missing, right? Because you have an incoming VAT and you subtract from that the outgoing VAT. So, you're paying taxes on the balance of the VAT, but that was hidden before. If you are doing cash, you may not necessarily need to collect VATs or pay out your VATs to your vendors. So
there's no VAT in India. It is GST.
Well, that's what I meant.
Something similar, yeah.
That's all I had. Thank you.
I suppose one other question. What service were you working in when you were, and when did you retire? What year and what service were you working in?
Yeah, I joined civil services in the service called the Indian Civil Account Service, which essentially deals with the government finances, government financial management. Okay. So I joined in 86 and I retired in May 2021. So almost 3 years back, I retired.
Yeah, my wife.
Dilip, just to give you an idea, Dilip, Ms. Pankaj, just to give you an idea, you were asking about the volume of transactions. I'm just reading this figure from the NPCI website. In January 24, last month, the value of transactions using UPI was 18,41,083 crores.
Great.
18,41,083 crores was the value of transaction. Just to put this in perspective, the government collects roughly about what's that, Subodh? About 1.8 lakh crores of GST every month?
Correct.
So this is 10 times the value of GST collected every month. 1.8
Pankaj,
lakhs crores. Yeah.
yeah, one of my question, I guess, was what's the total transaction, whether it's through UPI or through cash or through any other method, and what's this
Yeah, so that's
percentage?
what I don't know how much it is, but I was just trying to estimate it using the GST collection as a metric.
Okay. So
If
GST
you have a
is
monthly
GST, let's say
collection
GST on an average is 10% of the transaction, right? So we can estimate the total transactions and then
I think
divide
it
this.
would be higher. The average would be about closer to 14% or something like that.
Okay, but still there is a way to calculate it. That's kind of what I was
Yeah,
getting
yeah.
at.
So we can work backwards, and it is a significant chunk. I mean, if I look at it this way, Subodh's figure of 50% seems quite accurate. I mean, it must be quite close if it's not an underestimate, actually.
Right.
About 50% of the transactions are actually retail transactions are actually happening through UPI now. And that
That's
is
good.
obvious also because, the every other mode of transaction, except for cash, every other mode of transaction, the values have come down. Debit cards, credit cards, everything else has come down. I mean, today, if I want to send a gift to a relative or something, a cash gift or something, I would probably just do a UPI transfer to his phone number or her phone number. So,
I'm just waiting for the weddings to have registry where they can have this QR code to pay.
Yeah.
Now, few temples
we're
have.
This kind of thing.
We're relying so much on phones. If you just lose your phone, you're basically toast. Yeah, Sanjay,
So
you
we
were saying
have,
something.
I think in India, we have sort of leaped over several stages which other economies have gone through. I think. And yeah, the phone is the crucial factor here. That is true. But then, as Subodh also mentioned, this thing is what we see today is a result of about 25 years of work. IDRBT, which Subodh is mentioning, which did the initial work and which still is a nodal agency of RBI for technology development. It's based out of Hyderabad, actually. And I know a couple of people who work there. So, right from the days of, NEFT and RTGS and then the electronic clearing service and things like that, it's been I don't know if you remember, I mean, in the old days, each bank used to have a checkbook of a different format. Some had small size checks, some had bigger size checks and all that. Right from that stage to standardizing the way account numbers are assigned, to standardizing the way the bank branches are identified, to having a single size check mandated for every bank, and then to have certain features in the check which could allow electronic check clearing. IDRBT has been on it from the days of checks. So this is actually an edifice that is built on a very deep foundation, and I think the critical mass was achieved probably around the time when Aadhaar came in, and then suddenly you started seeing it in 2016-17 onwards. We started seeing it on the street, literally.
So what kind of
it's a remarkable story? Yeah. Sorry.
Sorry, what kind of IT backbone or infrastructure is needed to support this?
I don't know what they are using right now. I mean, it is there's a lot of. I mean, you're a communications guy. I'm a communications. There's a lot of communications involved. There's a lot of backending with the Aadhaar databases, with each bank's servers and databases, with the RBI's databases, and now all these other agencies like NPCI and things like that. So there's a lot of stuff going on as far as communication is concerned, and there is a lot of data which is there. Of course, the banks are the custodians of their customer data, and the government is the custodian of Aadhaar data. And NPCI really does not. It's only maintaining bridges. Mapping bridges really. It's not generating. Not the custodian of anybody's data really. And then there is another thing in this ecosystem, which is what caused Paytm's downfall recently. You see, when you take a vegetable vendor and he goes on and gets registered and gets a QR code and starts accepting payments through UPI, where is that money going? So if he gets it from Paytm, let us say, it has to go ultimately to his bank account. But if it's Google Pay or if it is Beam or if it is Paytm or PhonePe or whatever, the immediate stage into which the money will go when the vendor receives it from the customer will be a bank designated or associated with the app, with the Paytm or with PhonePe or whatever. Now, some of these people, some of these agencies have, their backends are essentially established banks like Axis Bank or things like that. So both mentioned that Axis may take over Paytm. But Paytm, what it did is, RBI sometime back allowed some banks called payment banks also to be set up. These are not regular banks, but they are called payment banks. So they're not supposed to accept deposits and stuff like that. So what Paytm did is it applied for a license, it got a license, and so whoever has a Paytm QR, the money which the vendor receives immediately goes through the Paytm bank, and then ultimately into the seller's bank account. And what Paytm started doing is they started going beyond the mandate of a payment bank. They started doing things which are almost similar to accepting deposits and loaning money and stuff like that. And they kept doing. So it's a bit of a Wild West scenario also, in a way. And even the RBI is learning, the regulatory requirements, etc. On the fly, literally. They're playing it by the ear. So they had warned Paytm not to do this, and several other irregularities also. Finally, they cracked down. But so that's the flip side. But on the positive side, all this ecosystem is part of the reason why we are where we are today. So when Axis says we'll take over Paytm, if Paytm can get rid of Paytm Bank and use an established bank like Axis to receive the payment and then route it to the seller's account, RBI is fine with that because they have more faith in an established bank which is anyway under their regulatory control. So it may still survive. Paytm may still survive. So that's what I said. They're learning the tricks as they go along. But the point that I was trying to make is that there's a whole lot of things which have happened in the past 25, 30 years, which have contributed to where we are today. Sorry, I'm being a bit long-winded here. Sorry.
Yeah, thank you, Subodh. Enjoyed the talk. Great service to the nation and impact on the masses there, the Aam Aadmi. So I had a quick question, related question. At what age do people get their Aadhaar cards in India? So, as early as they can get their fingerprints done, or
he said when you're born.
Okay.
A temporary ID linked to the mother's ID is issued to the baby.
Okay.
And then at the age of 5 years, a regular Aadhaar number can be issued.
Okay, great. Okay, thanks. Well, I got to drop off, have some lunch. So
yeah,
have a good day all.
Okay. Yeah. Thanks. Arul. Let's not get into the thank you for Subodh because then we'll never end. So on the question of the Paytm, I just wanted to also mention that Paytm bank was also not doing a proper KYC. So I think there was an issue there also that there were several accounts that were enabling fraud. That's what I read in the press.
Yeah, I'd heard about this loan app scam, that was also using, I believe, the same UPI infrastructure. And then people would get trapped into loan, basically blackmailing. So, and there are these Pune-based company. One Pune-based company was involved in developing these apps, which were linked to, I think, Paytm or some Chinese entity.
Many of these apps were from China. Yeah.
So they were
No,
also.
but how do these apps make any money? So why do they want to get into it if all they're doing is just acting as a bridge to move money from one place to the other without them getting any cut from it?
I don't know how they were. Probably they were asking for some pre-deposit before a loan was sanctioned. So they were probably making money on that pre-deposit.
No, Subodh, what I read was that they would give loans on credit, and then they would harass those people by saying that we will share this information and that information, because they had hacked into the phones of those people through those apps. And they had gathered a lot of information, including your contacts, and they said, we are going to tell all your contacts that you're not paying up.
Okay.
There were a few suicides also because of that.
Right.
Yeah. So any more questions on UPI?
Okay. So all that remains.
Yeah, I mean, I just
me.
had one in the chat, and maybe you can, when you get around, you can just reply to me.
No. Ask a question.
No. Saying that some of the vendors, my brother was telling me, that they were reluctant to use these direct payment because they said that all the payments go to their bank, and if they want to get some money to the ATM doesn't dispense any small denominations. And so whenever these small vendors, they need to produce change for the customers, they can't do it because ATMs are not dispensing it. So they want to stick to cash-based only because that's easier for them to manage all their low end, if you want to
But
make
then they can
change or
always go to
something.
the bank and withdraw a smaller amount in person.
They can always go to the bank and withdraw, or even if the ATM dispenses, let's say 500 rupees note, you can always take that 500 rupee note, go to the teller and ask them to give you smaller denomination notes.
Yeah, but
normally the teller cannot refuse.
I understand, but this guy doesn't have the time to go stand in the bank and do all those things. If he just does all the cash transactions, it's done, right? He doesn't have to waste his time going to the bank, stand in the line to get a change for it.
Yes, to now configure the systems to dispense 10, 20, and 100 rupee notes is going to be, I mean, is it worth the bother and the expense?
Yeah, but look at it from his point of view. So
No,
I'm saying that
I agree that in fact, when this direct cash transfer thing started in 2012, where there were discussions in the Prime Minister's office, there were discussions. So I remember Jairam Ramesh in one of the meetings used to say that it's good to put money in the bank account of the people, but how are they going to withdraw that money? So this cash out problem is always there. I agree with you. This cashing out problem is there. So people who deal with day-to-day cash, so immediately they are happy with having cash in their hands. But when the ecosystem grows that you actually don't require cash. Today, if you go to wholesale market, vegetable wholesale market, all the wholesaler markets, they accept UPI payments. Now, I mean, few years back, it wasn't so. So the vegetables guy who goes to the wholesale market, even then there he can use the UPI. So it's a question of getting used to it.
Yeah, he's only using it to receive money. He's not using it to also spend money. He should get used to the spending also.
Spending also, correct.
Well, they're assuming that all his customers are using this scheme and not cash.
I mean,
If any of them use cash, then
today three-wheelers in Delhi, they already have a QR code, so you don't have to pay anybody by cash. All taxi fellows, they have QR
Taxis, yeah.
codes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
The
you
only
don't have to pay
issue,
cash.
the only issue with taxis and other things are there. If the confirmation doesn't come, actually you have to pay by cash, and then sometimes it gets deducted later on also. Right? It
Oh,
happened
that you
in
are
recent
that,
times. Yeah,
that
I
you are
have to pay
saying.
paid to driver actually by QR code, and then I did not get message. He did not get message, and then paid cash actually, and later on we found out it is deducted from our account also. So the
That is, you are
spending payment.
saying the Uber and Ola kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean any taxi, anything, and like taxi, you pay actually, and if you don't get confirmation, and he doesn't get confirmation, sometimes confirmations are delayed actually. Many times it is delayed actually, especially from State Bank of India. You get confirmation after 1 day also, or you never get confirmation. So, so they don't know if they have got the payment. If some issue is there, then you have to pay the cash, and but you can't retrieve it back actually, because they have already gone actually. The spending payment is an issue actually. If payment fails, actually we get a message the payment has failed. Actually, it is okay. If we don't get message that payment is successful, then it is an issue, and it has happened with me in recent time, and it does happen actually.
Ken,
You
never
can
happened
ask
with me,
the-
so I'm
You
hearing
can
this for the
ask.
first
You
time.
can ask the taxi fellow to check his mobile app of the bank, whether
No,
he
they
has received it or
don't have a
not.
mobile app and other things actually. They rely on SMS actually, text message, and we also rely on text message. I can't go. I don't have a mobile app for SBI actually. I have not installed Yono because I don't want to. I have a lot of money in SBI bank account. I don't want to install the app actually.
Okay.
So that is an issue, only pending issue, and with some new apps actually. It doesn't happen with Google Pay. It doesn't happen with Amazon Pay. But once some new app like Tata New actually, it happened actually. I paid, payment failed, or it doesn't went through actually. We paid by another method or cash actually, and then after 20 days, it says pending payment is successful. So there cannot be any pending payment in UPI system actually. It is either it is a one time actually, it is paid or not paid actually, because
Some
nature of
problem with the
UPI.
app. Some problem
Yeah,
with
some
the
problem
Tata New
that
app
was
or whatever.
Tata New app actually. It was new app actually. We have now we don't use UPI with the Tata New app actually. But there can't be any pending payment actually. I think RBI has to make the regulation. There can be only one-time payment or upcoming payment. Like I have subscribed to Netflix or some other things. That is okay, but that is upcoming payment, but not pending payment. Actually. Payment cannot be
Yeah, but
kept
Ken,
pending.
I think if you had raised this issue with Tata New, they probably would have.
I raised actually. I have so many email exchange, but they did not understand actually, so I stopped using it. How can they say that after 20 days this pending payment is? So I have stopped. I use Tata New, but not for UPI now.
Okay.
I use now they have actually Tata New have a now credit card with HDFC Bank, and they pay you back 1.5% for third party and 10% on like Big Basket and Tata One MT. So it is very useful actually. So I pay everything by credit card on Tata.
So I'm also wondering how much is it like fraud tolerance? Suppose I go stick my own QR code on a vendor card. That guy has no way of really knowing. I don't think you can look at the image and tell him that it's not his. And he may just get quite a lot of hits.
No,
And then
he knows
all the payments
immediately
can
that
go
the
wrong.
payment has he knows immediately that the payment has been received, because there is a speaker phone that says 150 rupees received.
Yes. Now there is a
Either
speaker
there'll
phone.
be a speaker phone or there'll be an SMS immediately.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
No, but you already paid. You already paid, and you went to the wrong person. So you may have to pay cash to this
No,
guy.
so when I
if you are
scan, I
talking
pay my
of
vegetable
frauds,
vendor. Yeah.
if you're
See, I
talking of
scan.
frauds, any fraud any system can be gamed. Any system can be gamed. So you're talking of gaming a system. Okay, you can game a system.
No,
You
but
can
then
give
that is
one
the fault
time.
of the vendor that he has allowed another QR code to be displayed at his shop. When I pay my vegetable and fruit vendor, I get his name Anwar. I pay once I see the name. I do that with every new merchant that I go to. If they give me a phone number, I ask them, okay, is this the name? They say yes, then I pay.
Yes, we also do same thing actually. So that is, we check the name. Overall, it is very convenient system actually. It is very useful and convenient. We pay everything by UPI or credit card actually, so we don't have any cash transaction now. Almost zero.
Okay, great. 2.5 hours. We have almost 2.5 hours now into the session. Subodh, you must be tired.
No, it's okay. It's absolutely lovely to talk to the batchmates at any point of time.
Thanks a ton. This was a really informative program. And I'm sure there'll be questions. Some people like Nate K might ask you privately what he cannot say publicly. I think he's left. Okay, thanks everyone. Thanks for joining. Thanks, Subodh.
Thanks,
See you next
everyone.
month.
Thanks, Saurabh, for
Thanks, Subodh. Thanks, Saurabh.
organizing this.
Thanks, Subodh.
Yeah.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, Subodh.
Okay. Thanks, Sanjay. Yeah, okay.
Thanks, Subodh.
Okay. Bye.